So it's been a couple years since the release of Gotham Knights, a game that I thought was pretty good at launch. A lot of people thought otherwise, but I'm a big Batman fan, so I wanted to give this game a chance no matter what others were saying about it. A game where you could play as other characters in the Bat family and had co-op? My friends and I were sold. The game eventually came out, and I spent about a week playing it. It took me a little over 50 hours to beat the game, and I felt disappointed. I didn't think the game was bad, but it was lacking compared to the Arkham games. Well, after that, I stopped playing the game and I didn't pick it back up until a few weeks ago. After beating Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, I ended up playing all the Arkham games again, and then I decided to, give Gotham Knights another chance. And man, now that I'm looking at it again, while the game it still looks beautiful, it was not as fun as I remembered. Let's start off by talking about the story. At the beginning of the game, Batman is in the middle of an intense battle with Ra's al Ghul, who has decided to kill him. Why? Well, Ra's didn't say why, but we'll find out in a little bit. So during the battle between them, Batman decides to stab himself with Ra's sword, which made no sense, knock him out, and then go off to start the process of blowing up the Batcave. And when it does, it takes him and Ra's out with it. This leaves Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake with the task of finding out why Ra's tried to kill Batman. This is where you get to pick your starting Bat family member. During my first playthrough, I chose to play the game entirely as Red Hood, but during my New Game Plus mode, I decided to play as all four. The Knights, following up on one of Batman's leads, discover that the scientist Kirk Langstrom was brutally murdered by an unknown party, leaving behind a secured hard drive that can only be unlocked with a DNA encryption key. To get this, the team had to sneak into GCPD's morgue and collect the key from Langstrom's body. But before getting to Langstrom, they run into Talia al Ghul, who is in the process of permanently killing her father. She later explains that she killed Ra's in order to help the League of Shadows move on from him. I guess they're not really allowed to mourn, but whatever. Apparently they didn't like this, so they kicked her out of the League. With herself and Ra's no longer controlling the League of Shadows, she advises that the assassins will soon be making their move against Gotham. This already sounds fishy if you know who Talia is, but whatever, that's the reason she gives us. The Knights later on get a message from Harley Quinn, who's at Blackgate Prison, investigating a conspiracy that Batman was looking into. This involved multiple high-profile criminals being released from prison early due to all their witnesses meeting an early end. This included Kirk Langstrom. They noticed the Penguin is also on the list, and he was the only one who served his time. So, of course, they pay him a visit to figure out why. At first, the Penguin had no interest in talking with the Knights. However, after disrupting his businesses, he decides to talk. He explains the existence of the Court of Owls and tells them to look into the Powers Club for more information. At this time, the Knights don't believe the court is real, but they make their way to the club anyways. Once there, the Knights discover that the Court of Owls is indeed real, and after escaping one of their lairs, they come to the conclusion that based on the court's history that they are looking for the Fountain of Youth. Because what else would rich old people want? While investigating another hideout, the Knights run into Talons, the court's highly trained undead assassins, and they also find Dionysium. Now, Gotham Knights doesn't really explain what this is, but in short, it's a chemical/metal that the courts found that helps them revive their talons. There's a lot more to Dionysium, but that's not the focus of this video. Once the Knights leave, they again run into Talia, who advises them that they need to hurry up and take down the Court of Owls soon. While claiming she's still banished from the League, she says she'll help distract them while the Knights deal with the Owls. After returning to the Belfry, the team decides that in order to learn more about what the court is doing, they're going to infiltrate a masquerade party at the Orchard Hotel. During this time, they also piece together why Ra's decided to kill Batman. You see, Ra's main goal while he's been alive is to protect the Lazarus Pits and improve the world by destroying its corruption wherever he found it. He eventually found out about the Court of Owls and how they are using Dionysium to revive their talent. Since Dionysium is a part of the Lazarus Pits, he felt offended, I'm assuming. So of course he goes to Batman to have a conversation. Why? Well, it's assumed that Batman knew about the Court of Owls, and when Ra's asked him about it, either Batman didn't have anything to tell Ra's, or he refused to tell him anything. Either way, this more than likely started the fight between them, which is possibly where the game picked up. After putting that together, the Knights make their way to the Orchard Hotel. Once they get inside, they confirm that the Court of Owls had Kirk Langstrom killed, and that Bruce Wayne's uncle, Jacob Kane, is the leader of the court. During their discussion with Kane, he reveals that he already knows about Batman's secret identity as well as the Knights, and warns them not to get in his way as the court works on improving Gotham by murdering people. Which, honestly, is not a bad idea. Some people in Gotham need to die. As they argue, the League of Shadows shows up to the party and starts murdering everybody that they can. After the Knights escape, they meet up with Talia, who is being attacked by the League of Shadows. She kills them, and they get into a brief argument about the oncoming war between the League and the court. Once the Knights return to the Belfry, they listen to a distress call from the Penguin. The Court of Owls learned about him talking about them to the Knights and attacked him at the lounge. When they get there, they find the Penguin has been pinned to the wall, and as they try to get him down, an unknown gas enters the room. He had betrayed them, and now the Knights were in the hands of the Court of Owls. Now, what happens next kind of reminds me of what happened to Batman during the New 52 when he got captured. He was taken into this maze and went through the most intense psychological torment that we've ever seen Batman experience throughout his career. And what was crazy about that was Batman was gone for like a week. Nobody knew where he was. But in Gotham Knights, they didn't really treat it like it was a big deal. They were gone for maybe a couple hours, and once they got back up to the surface, then everything went back to business as usual. Anyways, the Knights quickly make their way out of the maze and return to the Belfry to regroup. This is when they decide to bring in Detective Montoya in order to convince her to help them get Jacob Kane arrested, because jail always works. Once the plan is made, the Knights launch an assault on Kane Industries. They manage to get Jacob Kane out and have him arrested, but as they're bringing him out of the building, Talia shows up and, to the surprise of nobody, kills him. They chase her down to get an explanation for this, but I mean, come on, what did they think she was going to tell them? She basically explains that she tricked them into helping her get Jacob Kane out in the open so she could kill him, and that the League of Shadows would not stop there when it came to ridding Gotham of corruption. Talia goes into hiding, but the Knights eventually track her down to the old Arkham Asylum, where she, for some reason, felt the need to continue and improve upon Langstrom's research, which was Man-Bat. And after getting absolutely destroyed by Man-Bat, the Knights realize that Talia has created more Man-Bats and set them loose across Gotham City. After getting that under control, they track down Talia to the cemetery, which eventually takes them to the underground ruins of the Batcave, where they find Talia in a Lazarus pit, which was somehow right beneath the Batcave. What? I don't know how an entire Lazarus pit was beneath the Batcave and Batman didn't know about it and shut it down, but whatever. While I was doing the math on how that didn't make sense, Talia reveals that she used the pits to revive and essentially mind control Batman. And, I'll just speed through this because I don't really like the ending. Talia forces Batman to fight the Knights. They beat him, breaking the mind control. The court then tries to interfere in the fight, and Talia puts them in timeout. After beating Talia, the court comes out of timeout to try to take the pits for themselves, only for Batman to say no, crash the entire Batwing into the Lazarus pit, destroying it and putting himself back into a forever box. And that's the end of the story. And you know what? After a couple years, I'll be honest with myself. This story sucked. I don't like it. No, it was bad. I'm not even going to try to, be understanding and make an excuse for this story. It was not good. Making a story about the Court of Owls and not having Batman be a playable character was just a mistake that did not need to happen. Now, there are also 4 little side stories for each of the Knights, and there's also 3 stories involving 3 villains, but we're not going to talk about them because who cares? Instead, we're going to move on to the combat, which is okay. I don't really have a problem with it. I know that some don't like it, and that's mainly because they were expecting it to play like the Arkham games. While I wish it did, I knew that it wouldn't. It was a co-op game, so I expected it to be a mix of the Arkham games and Marvel's Avengers, and I wasn't too wrong. It's a very simplified, I would say, free-flow combat style. Unfortunately, all 4 characters pretty much play the same. Aside from their ranged attacks and special moves, their main difference is how they move around the map. Red Hood honestly has the best traversal movement in the game, while Nightwing, Batgirl, and especially Robin have the worst. It's pretty strange to me that most of the playable characters have terrible traversal methods. I guess this was done on purpose to urge players to unlock fast travel locations around the map, which is a chore to do in the first place. You have to scan multiple drones to unlock one fast travel point, and to me, this is just a waste of time. And while replaying the game, I didn't even bother with it. I just took the bat cycle everywhere. Now, each time you fight, do missions or whatever, you get materials to craft new gear, because the game has a crafting system, which sucks. This is also how you unlock costumes for the characters. And I'm not even going to go in depth on this, mainly because, like I said, it sucks and I don't like it. Now, I can tell that this game really wants you to use the co-op features, which at launch didn't work. It works pretty well now, but when the game dropped, I was mostly playing the game by myself, which was a little challenging at first because when I started playing, I put the game on hardest difficulty. This was a mistake. I had to eventually turn it down because while I was getting more of a challenge, it was not because the enemies were getting smarter or anything. It's because turning up the difficulty just increases their health, which makes fights take forever. So don't do that unless you're going to be playing with friends. This game also has a heroic assault mode, which is just a horde mode, and it has a showdown mode where you just fight super versions of Mr. Freeze, Harley Quinn, and Clayface. These are fun game modes, but by the time they came out after launch, no one cared. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is the character designs. Now, the team worked really hard on these characters and the suits that they wear, and I think they were mostly successful. Barbara Gordon looks great. Her standard suit resembles what she wore in the New 52 and Rebirth comics. Her alternate suits look nice too, with my favorite being the metal suit. And I'll go ahead and say this right now. My least favorite suits for all the characters are the Beyond suits. They look horrible. Next up is Dick Grayson, who looks really good. His standard suit, it closely resembles the suits in the Arkham games. I don't read much of his comics, so I'm not sure if it resembles anything else he's worn in the past, but it looks good. Now, I don't like the majority of his other suits. They really don't look like, they just don't look that good, honestly. I do think his knighthood suit looks the best, though. So now we're moving on to my favorite character, Jason Todd, which looks okay to me. Now, I don't know if his suit is based on something he's worn in the past, but it still looks great. I like a lot of his suits, honestly, with my favorite being his Night Watch suit. And now we get to my least favorite character in the game, Tim Drake. For whatever reason, they wrote him to be very socially awkward and annoying, and then his suits are terrible. Majority of these suits look like they belong to Damian Wayne. It's like they wanted to put him into the game but changed their minds midway through. The standard suit resembles Damian's suit when he debuted. The privateer suit looks like it's what Damian wore during the Lazarus tournament event in the comics. There are only two suits that look like they belong to Tim. The Eternal suit, which kind of looks like a Red Robin suit, but I've seen better, and the Night Watch suit, which is my favorite. It resembles the suit he's wearing now in the comics. The only reason I can think of that Tim Drake was put in this game instead of Damian Wayne is because Tim has been around longer, which really shouldn't matter because right now, the way DC is telling the story, Damian is the more important Robin. Tim Drake is just useless. He's no longer DC's favorite Robin anymore. I don't even know what he's doing in the comics because his book was canceled last year. And the last time we saw him in a movie was in Death in the Family, where he was just a kid and Jason Todd was Red Robin. You know, the alter ego that DC created for Tim Drake. What's even funnier is that he's not even included in the new Crisis on Infinite Earths movies. But you know who is in there? Damian. It's very obvious DC doesn't really care about Tim Drake anymore, which really hurts me because I'm a big Tim Drake fan. With all the love that's going on for Damian Wayne in the DC comics and the DC animated universe, there's only one good reason I can come up with as to why Tim Drake's in this game and not Damian. And I'm not even going to talk about it in this video. But anyways, let's wrap this up. So is Gotham Knights a bad game? No. But I don't think it's a good game either. It's a little bit in the middle. The game looks good visually, but the story is bad and the gameplay is just okay. Now, I'm being very positive about this because I know that WB Games Montreal is working on a new single-player DC game that I'm hoping is going to be a sequel to Gotham Knights. This game does have potential, and I think borrowing some ideas from Suicide Squad and Kill the Justice League would benefit it. But who knows? Maybe this is a brand new superhero game. We do got the Wonder Woman game coming from Monolith. Maybe this is the infamous Superman game that everybody's been asking for. But those are my thoughts on Gotham Knights. It's an okay game, but it could have been better. If you did enjoy this review and want to see me do more stuff like this, please subscribe, leave a comment down below, leave a like to get the video out there, and give a look at my Lord Chrome Play channel where I'm doing different Let's Plays on different games. I think right now, by the time this video comes out, I should be playing Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, so that should be fun. Again, thank you everybody for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.